Hello and welcome to episode 1239 of The Sleeper and the Bus. It is Friday, December 15th. I'm your host, Paul Sporer, joined this morning by Justin Mason. Justin, good morning.
If you say so.
If you listen to this on the day it's released, do your insurance. If you are somebody that has to do insurance off of the Obamacare thing, today's the day. Today's the day. So get that in, folks, if you're listening day of.
I'm glad we give people like warnings, like, hey, it's tax day. Hey, it's
we try to help out.
Update your insurance day.
We try to help out. And in fairness, if you are subscribed and all that, they send you a billion emails.
Is it as many emails as Jim Burry sent my wife yesterday?
No. So I actually have a story about that, not Jim Burry, but in a similar vein there. I ordered something for Christmas. Can't really say what because I don't know how well Jen can hear me right now. Since I've ordered it, 18 promotional emails from this place of like, here's everything else we have. Here's a 10% discount. Use this today. Oh, your 10% is about to expire. Did you like this? Nothing about the order. 18 separate emails. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me, man.
How many days has it been since you bought it?
2.
Yeah. My wife didn't even order anything off of Jim Burry. She was she was just looking at stuff and signed up because it was like 30% off if you sign up for our mailing list today. That was at 7:00 in the morning. At 6 p.m. She had already received 11 emails and 3 text messages.
She got me beat. She
was like, I'm not buying anything from you now just because you have harassed me.
That's disgusting. Like, that's seriously, absolutely harassment. It's ridiculous. And like, sometimes there's some cool things that I've seen happen where I mess around with a cart somewhere and then I don't go for it. And then it has like an automated email hours later that says, oh, you left something in your cart. Here's 20% off. And I'm like, by the way, that is a little scam you can run to try to get discounts online. But yeah, Jim Burry and the place that I ordered from, disgusting. You cannot be sending that many emails. That's horseshit. And I ordered something, so get off my fucking back. Anyway, we got lots to talk about. We don't have a ton of time. We got an hour plus, whatever. Yeah. But we're doing second base today. But just between yesterday and today, after we logged off, we did yesterday afternoon. So we're not even talking like a full, 24 hours here. 3 big moves we got to get into. So with those and our semi-time limit here, probably going to just do a first half on second base because we do go deep on these previews. And then we'll do the rest on Monday. But let's get into it. It happened. Tyler Glasnow is in fact traded to the Dodgers, not with Randy Arozarena, so everyone can kind of calm down on that one. He goes with Manny Margot for right-hander Ryan Pepiot and Johnny DeLuca. Obviously, we were kind of waiting for this to happen. It seemed like it was imminent pretty quickly in the discussion. Like I said, there was the Arozarena stuff floating around. That didn't come to fruition. Obviously, they get a much lower in outfielder in Margot. Nothing against him, but more to say that Arozarena is obviously a stud. Let's talk Glasnow. Obviously, he's the focus of this deal. 120 innings last year was his career high, Justin. Like, I can't get away from that. And that's why some of the hand wringing over this move. Now, if they go get Yamamoto and trade for Cease, and everyone wants to complain about Evil Empire this, Evil Empire that, sure. This move doesn't tip the scales like that for me. It's a good move. I love Tyler Glasnow on a per inning basis. He's wonderful. But this is, to me, it's like a half starter addition still. What do you think of Glasnow with the Dodgers?
I don't know that it's a real upgrade.
And I was going to get into that too with Pep. Like, there's a world where they are not that far apart.
I really like Pepiot, and well, yes, on a per inning basis, like you mentioned, Glasnow is probably a top 5 to 10 starter in the league. I mean, you're probably going to get more innings out of Pepiot this year than you're going to get out of
projections.
Yeah.
Projections will almost certainly suggest that, right? Like, how high can you really put on Glasnow?
I don't know if projections will, because projections are like, I think this is why I like to do my own projections because I think the playing time in terms
especially
of
on
at-bats and
youngsters.
innings, yeah, like I just don't think they do a great job of capturing what players are likely to do.
Hmm.
This was my argument against Blake Snell. Obviously, that one blew up in my face a little bit, but
What did he do this past year? Oh, he won
I
the
think
Cy Young.
he was all right. He was all
He's
right.
decent.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, on a per inning basis, Glasnow is amazing. He now moves from like one of the best teams in baseball to the best team in baseball.
Hmm.
And so I mean it's a little bit worse park to pitch in, but I think for the most part, in terms of Glasnow's value, it's probably fairly lateral.
I would
Um,
think so. But here's
you
the
know,
thing. I don't think the market will treat it as such.
no,
I think
and the
this will
market's insane on Glasnow right
already, and it has been the last couple of years because everyone's
now.
trying to catch that lightning in a bottle. And you kind of did last year since it was a career high innings. I guess you could feel like, oh, I got 120.
Yeah, but
But
nobody who was drafting Glasnow where he was going last year was hoping for 120
no, no,
innings.
no, no, no. You weren't. Absolutely not. No, it was a loss to keep taking him that high and getting just 120. He's pick 46 right now, the 13th pitcher, scrape off the three closers, and you're talking the 10th starter off the board. He's going to go up. He's going to go up on the Dodgers. I guarantee it. I think he's going to jump ahead of Kirby, who's at pick 42. So then you're talking inside the top 40 there. I love him. Like he's a dope dude. I love seeing him on. He goes on Chris Rose's pod a bunch. Very insightful about the game. I love everything about him. I'm rooting for him. There's no world where I'm paying that for Glass, and I can't do it. And I say this as somebody who was actually paying the premium last year, and I got burned again because it was only 120. And it's like I know my whole thing about injuries is like, if all their skills are in line, I'll take the injury risk. That's usually when it's a little bit more of a reasonable price. When you're talking
Yeah,
top 40, I need a bit more assurance on the health piece. And it's just not there for Glass now. I know the answer, but I'm going to ask a question anyway. Are you paying top 40 price for Tyler Glass now?
no way.
Not
I
even
mean,
close. I don't think you were
I
paying top 60.
no, and this is not a Dodgers hate thing. This
No, no, no,
is
no, no, no.
a complete. I mean, if anybody's listened to the show for any length of time, you know how much I uh, dislike Tyler Glass now in terms of a health standpoint. And
Hmm.
there's no way I would, because I mean, this is going to be your SP1, right? Like, unless you were like
Two at best. Yeah.
double tapping really early, like you just can't put that kind of risk onto your team that early. And
I tend to agree. I just think it's such a high price. And like I said, it's going to go up, y'all. I mean, there's a world where he passes Gosman, who's
oh
at
yeah,
30, 32.
for sure will. I mean, I think there's a world where he starts to pass like Luis Castillo and Zach Wheeler, which
Okay,
is
that would be
insane to me.
nuts. That would be
But
nuts.
yeah, no, like you just I mean, I'll probably project him for a career high in innings, but it'll be 130
Yes.
innings, and
Yeah.
that's not what I'm wanting from my ace.
Steamer has him for buck 67 right now.
And
Although
see,
that,
this is what I mean.
yep.
Like,
And
the
then Pepio
projections.
141.
Yeah.
So,
If he
but
gets there, he's gonna be great. But
absolutely. But it's just such a big risk at such a high draft capital to take that gamble.
if you're
And
gonna take that gamble, why not wait 10 picks, or almost a full round, and take Tariq Skubal?
exactly, who also carries obvious gambles or obvious risks, but I can't do it. I can't do it. Good luck to Glass now. Good luck to his drafters, but I just can't do it. Manny Margot should factor in on the short side. Obviously, still a deep league play. I know we've had some love for him in the past. He's been a favorite of yours in past years, but it's a short side platoon that could probably only blossom into more playing time if somebody gets hurt, right? He's coming off a couple tough years. We used to like him back in like the 2021, maybe 2022 range, coming in off of that double-double. He's played 89 and 99 games the last 2 years. Any love for Manny Margot still in DCs or anything?
I mean, I think if one guy definitely jumped up in value, it's got to be Marco. I think well, yeah, I know they've got Jason Hayward, and Jason Hayward's a good defender. I mean, Margot is just a much better bat, and so I could definitely see
Is he?
past. I think so at this point.
Hayward had an excellent year. Are you sleeping on Hayward from last year? Check him
Maybe I
out.
am. I'm gonna.
269, 340, 473. I think I think they're an amazing platoon.
That's probably where it
I think
starts.
that's where it's gonna look, yeah. And then again, like I said, health, you know, there are some health pieces out there in the outfield that could fall apart and give Margot more PT, but how much do you really want him playing against righties?
Yeah,
Or even lefty? He didn't
that's
even hit
probably
lefties
fair.
last year, to be
Yeah,
honest.
I am sleeping a little bit on Jason Hayward.
Yeah, he had him and David Peralta had sneaky decent seasons, and they liked Hayward enough to bring him back. So, um, I think he's going to be the strong side. Margot's going to be short side. I think there's a DC universe. I would
Yeah,
take Margot. Like I could land on him, but I'm not seeking him out anymore. I used to, but it's been several years now. He's going into his ninth year. Like Manny Margot is not a baby, and he has a 91 career OPS plus. He averages 11 and 19 per 162, but he doesn't play 162.
yeah,
So you're not really getting that double double unless he falls into the PTs. So it's a tepid move for him. You can still draft him in DCs late, but that's it for Margot.
agree.
All right, let's get into what the Rays got back. And we both like Ryan Pepio enough that we think that this might not be such a huge downgrade for the Rays. And again, that speaks more, for me, that speaks more to Pepio's goodness and his advancements last year in command and control than anything I'm trying to shit on with Glass now. Because again, if you could guarantee me a buck 70 with Glass now, he's a frontliner. Okay. So it's all about his health. Pepio only threw 42 major league innings last year. He's just getting his feet wet still. But the 26-year-old, I don't think he's going to have major restrictions with the Rays. I think he has a chance to go 150. Are you buying in on Pepio now with Tampa Bay?
I am. I mean, I really like what we saw from Pepio, especially late in the season. The Rays need him in this rotation, and I don't. So I think he's got a pretty clear shot to be there opening day,
Yep.
or in the rotation on opening day. So, and yeah, I mean, I think he's a guy that you could probably pencil in for 140 innings with a mid to low threes ERA and a fair amount of strikeouts. He had a 24% strikeout rate last year, and we've seen higher strikeout rates in the minor leagues. So maybe there's something a little bit more coming as well. The Rays are probably the best pitching organization, if not one of the best pitching organizations in all of baseball. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I love this move for Pepio, and it's a good park to pitch in. I think he's probably the clear winner from a fantasy angle in terms of a guy involved in this trade.
Yeah, because I think he was going to pitch with the Dodgers too. But I think with the Rays, it is locked and loaded because don't forget, y'all, all those devastating injuries they suffered last year carry into this year. McClanahan,
Yeah,
Rasmussen, and Springs aren't pitching this year either. And if they are, it's late summer. So they still have those spots open. So it's going to be Eflin, Savale, Pepio, Boz, Littell is the five penciled in right now. And if
they need
Pepio
a lefty.
right? That's five righties. And if Pepio keeps that command and control improvement from last year, I think he has a chance to be a stud. So I'm
Hmm.
fully in on him. What about Johnny DeLuca? That's those two outfielders in the deal. They got younger by getting DeLuca at 25 versus Margot at 29. They're pretty similar though, right-handed bats that probably focus best against lefties. We know how much the Rays like to platoon. I think it's a Johnny DeLuca, Luke Rayleigh platoon, but you're free to tell me otherwise if you see something differently there. Is DeLuca somebody that you're interested in out in Tampa Bay?
Not really.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to get that interested in a short side platoon guy, right?
I think one of the reasons why the Rays made this deal and included Margot and DeLuca in it is because DeLuca's got options.
And money,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, so like uh, I think they can easily send DeLuca down when they
Mm-hmm.
need that roster spot, and even when he's up, he'd probably, like you mentioned, be on a short side platoon. So I don't think that this. I think this is probably disastrous news for Johnny DeLuca's
I
fantasy
think
value.
it's neutral. It was going to be the same in LA. It was going to be the same thing in LA. He was going to be backing up Hayward as a short side. I think if there was a world where DeLuca falls into full time PT, I would be interested. Like he is an intriguing enough bat. I just don't see it with Tampa Bay right now, and they've had no beef with platooning, and so he'll be on the short side, and I just don't see it. But if like O'Reilly or Josh Lowe or somebody were to get hurt and clear a bigger path for DeLuca, my interest would improve. But right now, it's late DC.
Yeah, I don't even care about him in DC, honestly.
Okay, maybe you should, but okay.
I
All right.
don't.
How about my Tigers,
He doesn't
baby?
have a. Before we move on to your Tigers, who made a fantastic move that I know a lot of people were shitting on yesterday.
They were? Oh, I
A
missed
few,
that.
a few people at least.
Okay.
Um,
DeLuca.
The problem with DeLuca is he doesn't profile to have a carrying tool in fantasy. He's like at best an accumulator, and when you're going to be stuck on a short side platoon.
Well, that's why I said if he falls into a full role.
Well, I know, but that's what I mean. I don't want him on a DC because I don't know if he's going to fall into that full-time role.
Yeah, but when you're taking him, okay, let me see what his ADP is. Maybe that'll change your mind. Hang on. Because I don't think he's going to be expensive. I hear your point, but I'm not spending like a top 250, 300 pick for him. Yeah, 710. He's my last pick. Right. I mean, even as like your 48th pick.
Like, who cares, right? But like,
exactly.
Guys going around him that I think I'd rather take the gamble on. Jose Miranda.
Boy, his star has fallen.
Juan Yepes.
What? I would not take Juan Yepes over him.
I get that.
Yepes got some pop. I mean, there's some guys down there. Okay, yeah. That's for some speed, right? He's a speed guy, right?
Yeah.
Kyle Isbell's down there. I kind of like his skills. JJ Bleday, power guy. I've liked him since his Miami day. I say since.
It is very bleak.
So, I mean,
650.
Here's what's interesting to me. What am I missing on this? We just talked about Jason Hayward. Why is he 721 in DC?
Probably because people missed that he actually played decently, got 300 plus plate appearances. Yeah. I mean, old friend of the show, Miles Straw down here too. Like
friend of the show for you only. I'm not claiming that.
He's gonna get 600 plate appearances in Cleveland.
Yeah, I mean, and there is some speed there that, like, if you were desperate, I get it. Yeah. Corey Julks did some things last year with a little pop and speed. There's guys down here. I'm not saying it has to be DeLuca, but DeLuca is quite literally free. Your favorite phrase. So
he is free.
Late in the DC, I see a world where I could take him, and if he falls into the extra PT, I might have something. That's all. I agree with you on the carrying tool and all that. I do need him to get plate appearances to really pay off, but I don't mind having a decent backup outfielder who's 25 years old for the Rays late in my DC. All right, now let's get to the Tigers. Jack Flaherty on a one-year deal. I don't do a whole lot of like free agent predictions, but I mentioned that the Tigers, like, this should be a guy that they're in on. This is the kind of guy I want them to take a chance on, because I thought whoever took a chance on Flaherty, I was going to be interested in, because I still believe he could reach his premium upside. Obviously, it comes down to health, and that has obviously been a major problem for him recently. But why not? And there's no such thing as a bad one-year deal. It's 1 year, 14 mil. I love this for my Tigers. Their pitching's already been looking great. Everyone's been getting excited about their young pitching. This adds more of a veteran piece to it there. He and Maeda come in and take some pressure off of some of those young guys that they have. Obviously, the Maeda move had already dented Sawyer Gipson-Long's outlook. This seals that he'll almost certainly be in the minors to start the season. But that's okay. Like, that's a good backup to have. Flaherty in Detroit, good park. Like I said, I still have hope for him, not just because he's with my Tigers. Even pretty much no matter where he would have gone, I'd have been interested. What do you think about Flaherty to the Tigers? And who was talking shit? Give me names and social security numbers.
I mean, Govier didn't like it. I saw a couple other people who were like, "No,
why?"
Because he's pitched poorly. But like, our friend Eric Karabell over at ESPN. Used to always say when he had his podcast that there's no bad one-year deals in baseball. Like, this is the perfect kind of deal for the Tigers and for Flaherty. Like, he gets an opportunity to reset his market. They get, a pitcher who's got a tremendous amount of upside that, if he pitches to his, to the ability that we've seen in the past. Now it is the actual past because it's been a few years since
It
we've
has been,
seen
yes.
a really good Jack Flaherty, but it's a very good park to pitch in. It's a great division to pitch in. Uh, you know, the hard part is it wasn't about the health last year. Last year it was about the skills. The walk rate has to come under control. He has to be less hittable inside the zone. But that being said, I'll take the gamble on Flaherty in Detroit. I think it's just a fantastic. I was saying yesterday that I thought Kansas City would be a great landing spot, and I think Detroit is just as good.
Yeah, at KC obviously would have worked similarly. Spacious park. Needs to get his control back in order. That was never really a
Yeah,
card carrying tool for Jack Flaherty, but it was always at least single digit sort of walk rates, 13 and 10% the last 2 years. And like you said, last year it wasn't just health, 144 innings, decent enough season, but the skills were a problem there. 4.99 ERA, 158 WHIP, and a 4.53 Sierra says that he was earning a lot of the trouble that he was experiencing. So there's things to iron out for sure, but again, I really do like this, and I do like the ERA was dreadful with Baltimore, 6.75, but the skills had actually improved quite a bit. He got
yeah,
kind of unlucky with a 390 BABIP because he put up an 18% strikeout minus walk. That was a 7-point jump from his time with St. Louis. So that's encouraging to me as well for Flaherty. His velo is up a half mile an hour. So there's some encouraging factors from the post trade to Baltimore. And now hopefully Detroit can kind of get something out of him. And, if the Tigers aren't moving forward this year, there's some hope about, hey, they finish strong. Maybe they can, but they can always trade him, right? So, if they're in the doldrums in July and he is improved, boom, flip him for a prospect, ends up being a great deal. If they're in some sort of fringe contention or even in full contention, maybe add a piece with Flaherty and go for a stretch run playoff chase. So I love this. I really don't see the downside on this.
no, I love it too.
All right, Tyler Mahle, 2-year deal to Texas. Texas, we've seen a pattern here, right? They're very interested in taking gambles on great but injury-riddled pitchers. That's where they're going to see, and they're just going to play that market, try to get discounts there. Nathan Eovaldi, your boy Andrew Heaney, hell, even trading for Max Scherzer. He's been dealing with a bunch of health, and now Tyler Mahle. It's a 2-year deal because he's not going to pitch much at all this year. So this is really a 2025 type of deal. He has Tommy John, I think in May. So you're talking like, I would say an August return. I'm not drafting him. I'm not putting him anywhere. We'll start to talk about him maybe around the All-Star break, see where his rehab is going. But this is a 2025 deal. What do you think of the Rangers getting Mahle for a 2-year deal?
I mean, I'm a big Tyler Mahle fan. I think this is a win-win for both the Rangers and for Tyler Mahle. You get to
Yep.
go to the reigning champion. Uh, like you said, he's not going to pitch until probably July at the earliest, but
Yeah.
that's fine. Don't draft him. Just put him on your watch list. That way, when there is talk about him coming back, that maybe you could pick him up. But I tend to ignore these guys in their
Yeah.
first year back, anyways. Tyler Mahle's not going to be any different, but he'll be on my radar for 2025 for sure.
Absolutely. From a real life standpoint, it's like a trade acquisition
Mm-hmm.
for them in the summer there. Like if everything goes according to plan and he does come back late July, early August, that's a nice piece to get for their either their rotation or their bullpen, depending on where the team's at. I think that's around the same time that DeGrom is expected back. So they could be getting those two pieces down the stretch. That could be pretty nice for Texas. But I agree, this is 2025 from a fantasy standpoint. Again, we'll talk about him in the summer if things are going well on his rehab, maybe a worthy pickup. But Justin and I are pretty tepid on TJ returners their first year back, especially if it, for me at least, if it doesn't include the 18 plus month recovery and it's just a standard 13 month. All right, let's get into our second base preview. Like I said, probably just going to do a few of the categories today and then get to the rest on Monday. But let's start at the top. The King, he's back. Actually, I don't know if he's ever qualified at second base. He's new here. Mookie Betts, pick 5, has second base and outfield, ADP of 5, min of 2, max of 9. He's a stud. Where are you taking him? And do you like him at second or outfield more? Mookie Betts.
I like him at second more. I am taking him, and I took him third or fourth in a gladiator overall.
Mm-hmm.
I just think the amount of and especially because it was a gladiator, because I think the one of the things that is harder in a gladiator is that you cannot make any changes in the season,
Correct.
and so those categories that are a little bit scarce, especially late, like batting average, there's not much you can do to
Mm-hmm.
kind of make up for a deficit. And so instead of maybe taking a high upside kind of young guy in that gladiator early, like a Bobby Witt Jr., I passed on him for the stability of a guy like Mookie Betts. And
I took him in our most recent one. You took him in the first
mhm,
one. I took him in the second one there, and made no bones about it. Easy pick for me at pick 4, right after Bobby Witt Jr., as you mentioned there. So I felt great that he fell to me there because I think he should be more of a top 3 pick. For me, it's Acuna.
I think it's Cunha,
Honest,
and then it's the Glob.
yeah, it is. It is absolutely a glob that you can make a lot of justifications for. I think Betts is fair too. I took
Yeah.
Carroll at 2 in our other one there, and so between those two, I have no issues with my first round pick. We don't need to go too deep on Mookie Betts. He's Mookie freaking Betts. Love that he has second base. He's going to be a god. Take him in the upper half of the first round. By the way, whoever
Yep.
got him at 9, nice,
Lucky
dude.
them.
Nice. All right, let's go to the studs. These are 3 guys that are going inside the top 40. Ozzy Albies at pick 23, Marcus Semien at pick 28, and Jose Altuve at pick 36. First off, based on their prices, who's your favorite?
I think it's Simeon. Um, and it's
Same.
Simeon because all he does is play.
Yes.
Like, as much as, if you could assure me health, maybe I would put Albie's number one, hitting in that Atlanta lineup, and with the power speed upside. And, I think he,
Or Altuve, man. He put up,
or Altuve. Yeah. Like, I
yeah,
mean,
because like 88 games, he put up 4 WAR. He was third at second base behind Semien and Marte, despite only playing 88 games. He was amazing last year.
but both of those guys have had injury issues.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously you're healthy until you're not,
Hmm.
and vice versa. But I mean, you just can't deny that like the best way to get 700 plate appearances to your team is to take Marcus
Draft
Semien.
Marcus Semien,
Yeah,
100%.
it's just
Three straight actually, he missed a game in 2022. What a loser, dude. But 724, 724, 753. That's 2020, 21, 22, 23. Go back to 19, another 747, 2018, 703. So the last 5 full seasons, of course, 2020 removed, he's over 700. And
yeah.
like that's just so valuable. And you talk about gladiator and accumulation and getting all those stats. I think he's even better in a gladiator. He went mid second round. And frankly, if he had somehow made it back to me, I would have taken him even though I had bets, and I'd have just moved bets to the outfield,
Yeah.
even though I like having him at second. So I'm with you. That's my favorite. Our boy Albies, he's going at 23. He's the highest pick here. Coming off a great year. He's on an amazing team, 33-13 with the homers and steals, 280 average. The average came back too. I think that was something that people weren't expecting. We love Albies. You still in on him as a firm second round pick?
Yeah, I'd like to see him steal a few more bases. He's one of those guys where, like, hey, he was kind of like, a mid-tier stolen base guy with the potential to be an upper one. It's like, hey, with these new baseball rules, maybe we'll see
He's like, nah,
and he's like,
nah,
no, I'm not going to do that.
I don't need
And
to
that
do that.
may be a preservation tactic, right?
Sure.
I don't want to get hurt again. He missed a lot of time in 2022. And so by not taking off all the time, he has an opportunity to stay on the field a little bit more. So, but I think you can, reasonably pencil him in for 650 plate appearances, upper 20s, low 30s homers, and double digit stolen bases with a good batting average. Like, I love Albies. I got no problem drafting him.
That's exactly how I feel. I don't think we need to go too much deeper. And then Altuve coming off, like I said, the short sample of just 88 games, but it didn't matter. He was absolutely amazing. I mean, he's getting older, but he just keeps doing it. Would you take any of these three that fall to you, or do you have a hard
Yeah.
preference? Okay, yeah, so you're in on all three. Anything you want to add about Altuve?
No, I mean, just about health. Like, I mean, if we get another 600 plate appearances, he's gonna hit, 28, 29 home runs and
Yeah,
steal 15 bases. And it's nice to see that the stolen bases have finally come back.
yeah,
Because
he took
there
advantage
were
of the new rules.
yeah. No, I mean, he had 18 stolen bases in 2022. So I
Oh yeah,
think
that's true. That's
it's
fair. That's
more of
fair.
a matter of desire to steal, and this is, I think, a case example of like, hey, some guys, could be stolen base threats if they wanted to, and I mean, obviously we've seen
A lot of
Altuve
guys.
steal 50 bases in a year before,
Yeah.
but he's just a guy that has stopped in recent years. But it's nice to see that they're back.
Yeah, 18 and 14 the last 2 years. Like you said, 18 for 19 in 141 games back in 2022, and then 14 for 16 last year. And like I said, 88 games. Oh, actually, hang on. So on that leaderboard, it said 88 games because that's how many he played at second. I guess he has two DH games. He played 90 last year, just
Yeah.
for the sake of. I didn't know that when you selected the position that it only showed you the games they played there. I thought it was just second base eligible guys. All right, so those are the studs. We don't need to get too deep on them. Betts, Albies, Semien, Altuve. You take any of them. I have no beef with any of those four and where they're going. This is an interesting tier here. This is the next big thing. These three guys are all going in order after Altuve. There's a big drop off, by the way. Altuve's pick 36. Our next guy goes to 61, and then 65 and 82. And that's Matt McClain at 61, Nico Horner at 65, and then even a little jump down here to Ha-Seong Kim at 82. Next big thing here, all three are multi-eligible. McClain and Horner are second short, and Ha-Seong Kim is second, third short. Again, who's your favorite here based on their price? You just go for Kim as the cheapest, or do you like McClain or Horner more despite the elevated cost?
I think it's Horner for me. And we talked about him somewhere recently, so I won't reiterate everything I said. I just I see potential negatives in Ha-Seong Kim and in McLean that just make me feel a little bit safer about Nico Horner. I mean, Nico
Can
Horner
I ask
had
what negatives there are with McClain?
playing time. And it has nothing to do with his talent. It has everything to do with the cluster that is Cincinnati's infield
You
right
think
now.
he's going to
I
feel that
don't,
pinch?
and I would be willing to take him, but I don't know what they're doing. And when I don't know what they're doing, I tend to rule on the side of caution a little bit. I know there's been a lot of speculation that maybe Ellie De La Cruz could start the year in the minor leagues, which is crazy considering where he's going in
Nuts.
drafts, right? Thank God none of my early drafts I drafted Ellie. Christian Strand, he may be kind of odd man out or have to move to the outfield in order to get playing time, which I don't think will go over extremely well defensively. But
Wait, what was that last piece? Sorry.
Christian
Oh, playing outfield.
Strand potentially
Yeah.
playing the outfield. I don't think it'll be McLean. I am willing to draft him around where he goes. But if you ask me for a preference, those type of things are the kind of tiebreaker for me. And I love Ha-Seong Kim. I love what he did. You and I were huge on him when he came over. He disappointed. We stuck
We
with
stuck
it
with him, yeah.
and got rewarded last year. But I could just see kind of a just natural regression from that
Sure.
massive season coming back. The Padres aren't going to be as good. So I think there are fewer question marks with everything going on with Nico Horner, and he just has an amazing hit tool, and I love to bet on hit tools. So for me, it is Nico Horner, but I'm not going to beat up anybody if they go, no, McLean's the dude or Ha-Seong Kim is the dude.
Yeah, it's McLean for me, but it's a trio again that I don't mind at any of their prices. I'm in. Like I said, at least dual eligibility for all three, triple eligibility for Kim, and he goes 20 picks later too. So if you miss out on these first two, you can get him later, get Kim later. Horner, I've talked about it a bunch during the season. He's a guy that I kind of fell in love with last year after having a blind spot for him. was never hate. It was never like I'm out. It was just he's Nico Horner. I just kind of rank him where the pack does and move on. I didn't really give him enough attention. So I missed out on a nice breakout 9 homer 43 steal season. Obviously, the 43 steals are the real thing to underline there. But a 283 average after 281 the year before. He went 1020 in 2022 as well. And just watching him play a bunch because I was watching so many Cubs games early in the season for different other fantasy players, and I was like, this guy's a dude. I really really like his game, and maybe it's kind of a bias of watching and then falling maybe too in love instantly, but I'm not trying to take him beyond his ADP. 65 I think is fair, and I'm definitely down for it.
And
Get your power elsewhere, but take those 40 steals with a 280 average all the way to the bank.
and that ADP will drop, right? Like it's as pitchers start to push up, as we start getting into spring, like he's going to be available around pick 70, 75,
And he's
which I
got a
think is
wide range too.
yeah,
46 min, 100 max. So Nico Horner, there's certain rooms where you fall in with a bunch of people who aren't as interested, and then you can jump in there pretty easily.
yeah.
So yeah, I definitely like that with those three. Let's go to the double gems. These guys put up 10 plus homers and steals last year. They could easily jump into that next big thing category, or they could fade a little bit and be somebody that, maybe disappoints at their price point. Gleyber Torres at 106. Bryson Stott also happens to have a 106 average. Andres Jimenez at 122. Zach Geloff at 136. And Tommy Edman at 154. I'm not going to ask you your favorite here. I want to take all five in order. Let's start with Gleyber with the Yankees here. You know, we still remember the 36 or 38 homer season when he hit 52 of them against
The
Baltimore. That's
Orioles.
right. He hit negative homers against the rest of the league. He
Hmm.
hit 52 against Baltimore and then negative against the rest of the league. And that's how he wound up with 38. That's not coming back. It certainly doesn't seem like it. But 24 and 25 the last 2 years with 10 and 13 steals. Solid batting average at 273. Great plate skills. That was a big improvement last year. Sliced his strikeout rate from 23 to 15. Swinging strike rate went with it from 12 to 9. Glaber's 27. You know that's a magic year. Is he about to have a break? Is he about to have another breakthrough? No, I really like him as an established, solid player. Is Glaber somebody that you find yourself landing on in drafts or that you have interest in at least?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of interest in Glaber. I think he's just consistent. Like, you can pretty much book, 25 home runs,
2010 or
yeah,
25-10, yeah.
12 stolen bases, a good average or decent average, and probably a lot of runs and RBIs in this
Yep.
Yankees lineup. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, he's just a steady Eddie dude. That's only 27. Like,
Exactly. And he's been
crazy to
around for
me.
a
Yeah,
minute now because he
yeah.
broke in at 21. So he is kind of a veteran, but you don't think of veteran as a 27-year-old. You think more something in the 30s. But yeah, he's a 7-year vet now, or 6 years. This will be his 7th year. And Glaber has really evolved. Again, like I mentioned, that home run season, people were kind of holding him to that standard. And, 2020, who cares? But then 2021 was really a down year. 9 homers, 14 steals. And he needed like I think it was like a 9 steal second half to kind of salvage a tinge of fantasy value that year. But then 22 and 23 are downright excellent seasons. And I love the skills improvement. I mentioned the strikeouts. I didn't point out that he had a 3-point walk rate jump as well from 7 to 10. And so now you're talking 10% walks, 15% Ks. That's excellent.
Mhm.
There's a world where Glaber jumps above these numbers, but even if I only get 25 and 10, I'm totally fine with that. So
Yeah.
I love Glaber. He is the most expensive here, but he's tied with Bryson Stott. Do you have a preference between those two before we talk about Stott's skills?
Um, it's funny because if I just think about it on the top of my head, I'd probably go Glaber, but I've actually drafted Stott and I haven't drafted Glaber yet, and that's a roster construction issue.
Sure, because you will get more speed with Stott. So let's talk about
Yeah,
his breakout, 1531 with a 280 average. I think he was kind of under the radar last year. I think people were a little bit out on him after the modest rookie season with an 84 WRC plus, but he cooked last year with the fantasy numbers, 15 and 31 there. You mentioned this team construction. If you need speed more, you lean towards Stott. What can he do? He's going to be 26 next year. Do you think there's more here, or are we just paying for solid 15, 30 type seasons?
I think that he is solid, and I think there is a chance that we need to pump the brakes on like what we saw last year a little bit. Like I think the power isn't prodigious. I mean, he stole a lot of bases, but I don't. We're unsure yet if the stolen base jumps are going to be super sticky year to year. And
True.
so I'd probably, Steamer has him for 15-20. And because I have my
You
projections
got your
done
projections, baby. Let's
for
go.
second base, I have him for 11-27 with a 267
Okay.
batting average, which is fine, right?
I'm
Like
cool with that. Yeah.
I might be a little bit too aggressive, and I might, move a few or take away a few stolen bases, but I think he's got a great hit tool. I look at him as Nico Horner-esque, maybe like a diet Nico Horner.
Bit more
Um,
power, a little less speed.
yeah, exactly. But I love him. Like I think he's one of those guys that is just a perfect glue dude in the lineup. And I have, like I said, in a couple drafts already, I've like gotten to a point where because I really focus on batting average and power early, like I've got I need some speed, and Bryson Stott's still here, so I'm
Yep.
going to be scooping him up. So well, like I said, I think in my head, I go, oh, Glaber. In reality, the guy I keep going to is Bryson Stott.
Crazy wide range here. And I'm trying to find out. Okay, it looks like his min is very much the outlier here because Stott has a 53 min pick and a 143 max. And I did look at it. Yeah, the 53 happened first off back on October 9th. And the closest he's gotten since then is a 68, which happened on 11/22, and then a couple 70s in mid-November. So you're never really going to have to take Bryson Stott that high. I think if you need to jump him over the 106 average, I think you're talking like 80s is safe to take the jump if you really want to secure your guy there. And you can get him as late as 143. And there has been, more than just one, late pick there. He's gone in the hundreds with a lot of consistency there. So I don't think it's a huge price tag on Bryson Stott, and I do have some interest in him. I do want to talk about the guy that goes right after him at second base. It is a round later, at pick 122, Andres Jimenez. Tough year last year for Cleveland, right? They could not recapture the magic that they had in 2022. A lot of these guys that had big seasons had hard regression, and Andres Jimenez is the poster boy for that. He went from a 141 OPS plus to 98, but the core fantasy skills of power and speed, he went from 1720 to 1530. I'll trade 2 homers for 10 steals. Now, it also cost me 46 points of batting average, and his price point was such that you were probably still hurt in the aggregate there. But all in all, not too bad. And I think for the rottenness of Cleveland's season, he might be getting down to a little bit more than he should. I kind of like Andres Jimenez on a bounce back, age 25, especially because he doesn't really have to bounce back too much. 1530 is fine. I think the batting average will bounce back to the 270s. Are you in on Andres Jimenez at pick 122?
Yeah, I mean I am, but it's not because I see like, hey, a huge bounce back or anything like that. I think he's fine. I have him pretty much projected for the exact same line in 2024 that he put up in 2023. 15 home runs, 30 stolen bases, and a 253 batting average.
Mm-hmm.
So
You don't think he can get back into like 260s, low 270s?
he's got just kind of really league average skills in terms of zone contact. His actual swing is actually bad. Swing strike rate is fine, but I just think he is kind of a mediocre hitter with a
Sure.
bunch of speed, and I'll take that. And
Yeah.
Cleveland will let him
A
run, so I
repeat
don't mind that.
season at this price is fine. Like you can get
Yeah.
literally 251, 1530, and you'd be fine there. I do think there's a tinge of upside. I think it goes as his BABIP goes. Jimenez's
Yes.
BABIP was 353 in 2022, dropped down to 289. If you can get it somewhere in those low 300s, then we're talking like a 265, 270 average. But even if he only hits 250 something with the 15 and 30, you will take that, and I
Yeah.
will as well. Zach Geloff, kind of a surprise inclusion here. Yes, folks, he went double-double despite being in the league for 9 minutes. He was a sneaky solid guy down the stretch. Probably helped win some leagues for people because he went 14-14 in just 300 plate appearances. It was a very nice 69 games for Geloff. 267, 337, 504. Obviously, he can't keep that pace. I don't believe he can. I don't think you believe he can. But what can he do here with a full season in Oakland? Does he go 14-14 just stretched out over a full season? Is he 20-20? What are you doing with the batting average? He's an intriguing guy. I love what he did last year, but I'm worried that that's going to keep his price high at 136, and I don't know if I'm willing to pay it. Where do you come out on Zach Geloff?
I think there's more speed in there than, or not necessarily more speed, but more stolen bases coming. I don't think there's much more power. I got him for 16 home runs, but I've got him also got him for like 27 stolen bases.
Okay.
Oakland will run, and he's gonna play every day. Like I just
Has to,
don't
right?
see like unless they plan on rolling me out at second base, like he's got a spot on this everyday lineup. And yeah, I mean, I don't think the skills are super intriguing necessarily, but I think he's gonna steal a bunch of bases. I think the power is a little bit of an aberration last year. Like, I don't think he's got very much power. That park saps power to begin with.
Mhm.
So even moving from a half season to a full season, I only gave him a couple extra home runs and then a bunch of extra stolen bases, and I'd totally be fine with that. I prefer all the other guys that we've talked about so far, just because I think there's a safety and a floor for those guys that I feel a lot better
And
about.
team context too,
In
right?
team context, yeah. I mean,
Which
he
which
could he
adds
could have
which that
16 home
floor.
runs and 30 RBIs.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. That floor comes from the quality of those teams that should keep the runs and ribbies at a certain level. It is
which
worth
is
pointing
funny
out,
because he had 14 home runs and 32
and
RBIs.
32 ribbies. It is worth
Yeah.
pointing out that he played 69 games in both AAA and the majors, and he went 12-20 down in the minors. So you add it all up, it's 26-34. And I'm not suggesting that we should project him anywhere near that, but it was an amazing year for him at AAA and the majors for
And
Zach
this is what I
Geloff.
think, like obviously, because they're in Reno. Are they in Reno? Is that or Vegas?
Las
In
Vegas,
Vegas,
there,
which is a
which
launching pad. So I'm not giving
correct.
him credit for the 20 home runs in AAA, but I will give him credit for those 20 stolen bases. And so that's why I
Mhm.
think, like, hey, I'm going to be a little bit more tepid on any sort of power growth, but I will take the gamble that I think he can get close to 30 stolen bases.
Yeah, the projections have him for 2020. Um, I tend to be more in maybe the upper teens homers, but maybe upper 20s or low 30s on the steals. I think that could happen. I do think the batting average could be an issue. He had 27% K rate, 9% walk, 28% K rate in the minors as well. A lot of swing and miss there. 267 was probably some run hot thanks to a 331 BABIP for Geloff. So what was your batting average projection for him?
243.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. 238 for Steamer
And
here.
I also see like a floor of like 217 or something like
Yeah,
that. Like
absolutely
he's got
agreed.
really bad contact skills, 16% swing and strike rate, 75% zone contact, which is 10% below league average. Like
Yeah.
that's really, really bad. But he's got the benefit of being in Oakland, and the only benefit about being in Oakland is he's going to play every day.
PT, baby.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm going to have a tough time drafting him, though, because I just really like all four of these other guys. Tommy Edman goes damn near 20 picks later, and I'm going to take Tommy Edman over Zach Geloff 10 out of 10 times, I think, right now, because I know what Tommy Edman is. He's pick 154, coming off a 13 homer, 27 steal season. He went 13-32 the year before, 11-30 the year before that. Pretty consistent. The only thing that really failed Edman last year was a 248 batting average. He had a 275 BABIP. And I think it's as simple as that. I think the BABIP probably gets back closer to his 300 career average, and he hits another 265 or something. So give me 260, 13-25 or 13-30, and I'll take that to the bank for the 29-year-old Edman. Anything you want to add with him? Do you prefer him over Geloff? Are you in on Edman?
There were a lot of reports that he could get traded.
Yeah, those are still lingering. Him or Gorman, somebody.
Yeah, so I'm kind of a little tentative on him. I did take him, I think, in our most recent Gladiator, I think it was. But again, it was like, oh, I need stolen bases. I also need a little bit of outfield, and outfield dries up really, really quickly. I think the multi-positional eligibility is what I love the most, right? It's just a guy that you can kind of plug in everywhere. So, but I'm interested to see if he gets traded, because if he gets traded, that could be, pretty decent for maybe a little extra power output, considering, the Busch Stadium being such a pitcher's park. So, I like Edman, but he's more of a fallback option if you need speed or outfield.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I prefer all the other guys, and the other guys are going ahead of him, so I am totally fine with that. But I will take Edman if I need him. I put this next guy in his own tier. It's called the Luis Ariz tier. Guess who's in it? Luis Ariz.
Oh, it's not Jeff McNeil.
It's not Jeff McNeil or Stephen Kwan. It's Luis Ariz himself.
You should do a solo tier and name it like after a player, and it not be,
and then put somebody else in there. Yeah,
it's a way better bit.
I should have put Stephen Kwan in there because I got in that whole Twitter thing with the Twins fans when I said that he was just Stephen Kwan with higher BABIP at the time of the quote unquote debate. And then where did they end up at the end of the year? In the exact same freaking spot. Anyway, his BABIP ran excellently last year, 362, which fostered a 354 batting average. He's obviously got amazing contact skills, 6% strikeout rate, 3% swinging strike. Did pop 10 homers, a little something there, career high 10, but only 3 steals, 69 ribs, 71 runs. I have a hard time drafting him. I respect his skills, but anytime batting average is your carrying tool, you're so at the mercy of variance. And so, yes, he was the 6th best second baseman last year, but there's a reason that he's not going as the 6th highest this year, because people don't want to pay that premium. He's 14 at the position, pick 151. Where do you come out on Ariz after his breakout year?
I mean, Ariz is a guy that, like, I get why people draft him, because batting average is so hard to find.
Sure, especially at anything related to pick 150, which is where he's going.
But it's such a negative everywhere else.
Exactly.
And I'm sure there will be people like, well, look, he got to double-digit home runs. Like, Nico Horner, isn't getting,
Nico Horner gave me 43 steals.
Yeah, and not to mention, like, there are times in which you really need to look at the context of the numbers. On September 11th, through September 11th of this year, he only had 6 home runs. A week later, he had 10 home runs.
Oh, so he ran a little 4-homer surge.
He decided after the Marlins got eliminated from the playoffs, like, I'm going to try to crank a
swinging for the fences.
Like, I'm going to ditch my approach and just crank a couple. So, like, yeah, I think you project him for 5 or 6 home runs.
Yeah.
A fair amount
3 to 5
of
steals
scored. Some chip and stolen bases and a really good batting average. But, like, it is a nightmare from a roster construction portion. The only reason you should be thinking about Luis Ariz is if you've made a massive mistake getting to Luis Ariz, and I don't want to. I'm hoping I can avoid that.
Yeah, I think that's. I won't do it. I talk about this with the speed demons. You mentioned Miles Straw earlier, and he was kind of the main guy back when he had some fantasy juice, and he was actually going around this area, actually in the 150s a few years ago. And I say, I don't want to do that because the construction that you need to do with your team is something that I don't want to have to do or even plan for. And when you and I have had disagreement where I think you should plan to take these guys and build around them, and you've said, well, if I'm on an island late and I need, or middle of the draft and I need some average, I'm going to take Ariz and work from there. I want to have a full plan to make sure that my power is off the charts and my steals are really strong, because he saps value there. And I think the price is just too high. Solid player, and somebody might get another 3-something average. I will let them have him. I cannot take Luis Ariz at pick 151.
And, like, here's the thing. Like, I don't necessarily disagree with you because I think you're going to agree with what I'm about to say here. Um, if if you believe that you should have a plan in order to take Luis Ariz, that's fine. The problem is that's a bad plan. It's just a bad plan,
I agree.
right?
That's why I don't want to
Like
do it, though.
exactly, like right. And so you're never going to get Luis Ariz because you shouldn't have that plan.
Correct.
You should not. When you're drafting a guy that is a rabbit or empty batting average or empty power, um, like you need to be taking these guys really late. Like Luis Ariz was not a bad pick when he was going 320 something.
Yeah, or even two
Now,
something last year, I believe. But like,
yeah,
okay, but
not it.
150?
150 is insane because if you draft him at 150, you are saying I need this for my team. And what happens if and when he gets hurt?
Yeah,
Like,
that's another thing too. You put all your eggs in one basket on a
and then
fragile
you're done,
category.
right? I
Yep.
mean, it was many many years ago, but there was the talk like, ooh, draft like Juan Pierre and Chris Carter, and all of a sudden you've got like the speed and average from Juan Pierre
Chris,
and the
I
power
can do
from
a
Chris
more updated
Carter.
one. Chris Davis, Billy Hamilton, and I did it in multiple drafts, and it
Yeah,
blew up in my face completely. And that's
all
basically
it
when I
takes is
swore
one
off.
guy to mess up, and whether it's a skills
Yep.
degradation or an injury, and you have none of that, right? Like, and now you are, trying to replace 50 home runs or 50 stolen bases, and you just can't do that. Like, it just doesn't work that way. You shouldn't be drafting Luis Ariz. You should be looking for the next Luis Ariz late on in a draft. There probably isn't going to be one because Luis Ariz is such a unique skill set that just
Yeah.
doesn't happen very often anymore. But I just avoid it. Like it just makes zero sense.
Unless you're in a draft with us, take them as early as you want
Yes.
to your heart's content. I'm looking real quick to see who's the closest. I mean, because I'm looking for like high batting average and low homers. Nico Hoerner's the only other one with single digit homers. But again, like I said, he gets those steals, which obviously makes him so much different and so
Yeah.
much better. So yeah, I don't really have a comparison to be the next Arise. So just don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it, y'all. I just don't think it's a good strategy. But all right, let's go ahead and cut it here. With the beginning of our second base preview. We'll get through the rest on Monday. We got plenty of guys to get into. I kind of like, we're starting to get into the middle of it and everything, but I really like getting into the middle and late round guys. And we
Yeah.
got some really fun tiers coming up. We'll get to all those on Monday. Justin, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And what move? If I could give you free reign to place a free agent right now. You don't have to pick who it is or where he goes. But if we could talk about somebody on Monday, who do you want to see land
I mean,
over the weekend?
I think it's got to be Blake Snell, right? Like,
Yeah, that's the one I'm eager for.
I'm not going to be necessarily interested in. Well, actually, it's Yamamoto.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. I would put Yamamoto then Snell, but it's those two pitchers that I'm like, where are they going to go? Where are they going to go?
I mean, selfishly, I'm really interested to see where Cody Bellinger goes. I'm really interested to see where Jordan Montgomery goes because those were two of my dudes last year. And I want to see, are there landing spots, good landing spots? But I think in terms of the most interesting, because there's a wide range on Yamamoto. Like there are, I saw someone saying in a Patreon like that, said that, or no, it was Eric Longenhagen said that there's only like 5 pitchers in Major League Baseball he would take over Yamamoto. Well,
From
yeah,
Eric,
and
that means a lot to me.
yeah, and that does mean a lot, right? Because I really love Eric and trust Eric, and then I've heard other people that I love and trust go, I think he's more of a mid-rotation arm. And so like it's just a really interesting kind of
big
market.
variance. Yeah.
And I wouldn't mind my Giants going out and getting Yamamoto. Now he'll probably go to the Dodgers and just break my effing heart because the Dodgers
and everybody
are
else
getting everybody
yeah.
here, right? Like, but yeah, I think Yamamoto probably. Then for me, it's Snell, and then Yeah, I mean,
I'm
once
with you on
those
Belly too. Eager to see where he
Belly
goes
and
as well.
Montgomery, like those are really, really interesting arms. I wonder if, you know, I really thought Montgomery was going to go back to Texas, but I also thought it'd be done by now. So
True. One of those quick moves that gets locked in right away. So maybe he's just playing the field and trying to milk a few extra bucks out of Texas. I don't know. And, because I don't think the Molly move precludes them from getting Montgomery because, again, Molly's not
no,
really a 2024
I
move.
think
He
they
really
need
is a 2025.
Montgomery. I
I
mean,
agree.
like because they've got so many guys that are coming back mid-season, like I think they need Montgomery back in the rotation, and I think he was a really good fit there. I'm hoping that's where he ends up.
Yeah, they got to get to the All-Star break without, being way
Mhm.
behind the eight ball in the division. Obviously, Houston's not going to give up. Seattle's
Yeah,
still
let's go good.
quality ball club. So I
Oakland
agree there.
has a baseball team,
They do? Well, I guess they do for, what is it, 2 more years that they
technically.
have to play there?
Technically,
You know what
oh
that's like, dude? That's like breaking up with somebody, but y'all live together and you still got to live with them until you can find a new spot.
well, and that's the thing. Like, I can't remember the exact years on it. Their lease with the Coliseum, I think, runs out after this year, but their stadium in Vegas won't be ready until 2026 or
Exactly.
2027.
So what the
And
hell are
so,
they
like,
going to do?
they're gonna play in Las Vegas at their AAA park. I'm gonna guess like that. It is gonna be unreal because,
Zach
like I
Gelof's
said,
hitting 50.
that yeah, that is a launching pad of a place. So, or
It'll be like
like,
when the Blue Jays were playing all around. It'll be exactly
yeah,
like that when everyone, their hitters went crazy because of that.
everybody rebuilding their keeper leagues for 2025 and get your A's because I think there's a reasonable chance they end up playing in Las Vegas at the AAA park, and
Wow,
that's going to be an absolute nightmare,
it would be
and
wild.
it's going to be fun.
It would absolutely be wild. All right, Justin, great talking with you this week. Talk with you early next week. Have a good one.
Take it easy.